about a heaven in Alberta, where they've got all hell for a basement. Yeah, I lost my way, but I hear tell about a heaven in Alberta, where they've got all hell for a basement.
All right. Hi, everyone. Frankie here. New West Reset. Hello. How's it going? Welcome back. And thank you very much for once again shooting in and joining a fella here for another one. Another live one, as a matter of fact. New West Reset Live, episode 88 today. Can you believe it? I can hardly believe it myself, episode 88 already. Wow. So thank you for joining me here for this episode tonight, or this afternoon, or this evening, or this morning, whatever the case may be for you. And in this one, we're going to be looking at the astounding architecture of old Montreal. Now, we've covered old Montreal in the past here on the channel with some vintage footage upload videos, as well as a live stream or two. But I don't know if we've ever taken the little guy and dropped him down on the goggle maps and the goggle machine. So we're going to do that. And we're going to have a look at some old photographs. Of course, check out the official His Story there on the Wikipedia. So, yeah, links below for everything that we're going to be covering the show here this evening. So welcome. Thank you very much once again for joining me here. Just a smidge past 5 p.m. local time, mountain time. And as always, we're coming at you live from Purdy, Alberta. Beautiful southwestern Alberta. And I'm in Calgary. I'm in Cowtown, ye olde sandstone city. Thanks for joining me, and thanks for winding down your weekend here with me. Appreciate it. Beautiful day here today. It started off a little cloudy and a little chilly, you know, as mornings do this time of year, this close to the mountains up in, Canada land, right? Last couple of mornings had some frost there on the grass and then the bushes and the leaves and so on in the morning. But today, once we hit about, I don't know, 9 or 10 in the morning here, it was beautiful, sunny, still sunny, blue skies, 16 degrees Celsius. It's like 60-ish Fahrenheit. That's great. That's great for, Sunday, October the 20th, 2024. That's pretty darn good. So this is unseasonably warm. But with that said, I've already jinxed it. A guy can't even talk about the weather without jinxing it. It's already jinxed because they're calling for snow tomorrow. 10 a.m. start time approximately for snow. Snow. Great. I mean, it's kind of overdue, really. We often get cold weather and snow before Halloween, so I kind of feel bad for the little kiddies that are out there, disturbing their neighbors by knocking on the door and begging for free food. If you can call candy food, but you know what I'm saying. Anyway, I'll take it. It's beautiful. And I'll enjoy it. Speaking of enjoy, how are you folks doing? How are you enjoying your weekend? Say hello in the box, in the chat. Let me know how you're doing. Who we got here already? Well, we've got Turtle. Turtle's here. Hey, hang on. Hang on. Everybody, Turtle's here. Let the neighbors know, eh? Hippie Shake in the box. Hiya, Hippie. Good to see you. Altriano. That's a new name here, I think, around these here parts. So welcome. Thanks for joining. Appreciate it. Says the truth will prevail. I hope so. I hope so. Kathy Childers is here as well. Namaste, y'all. Put a little Kentucky on the end of that. Ms. Grandma in the box as well. Good to see you. She was inquiring earlier. Got any snow yet in Calgary, Frankie? Well, there you go. It's coming. It's coming. So there it is. Yep. Kimmy. Kim is here. Hello, Kimmy. Good to see you. DN in the box as well. Hello. Old World Mi'kmaq. There he is. Kwe Nida. Yeah, kind of back to my hometown. Well, Calgary's my hometown. I'm, basically been here for 44 years. So I'm a Calgarian now. If not by now, then when? Right? Like, pooper, get off the pot already there, Frankie. But yeah, born in Montreal, lived there the first 10 years of a guy's life, parlez-vous le français and so on. And eating poutine. And, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, we're going to be looking at Old Montreal, kind of a section of the city, approximately, I don't know, a few miles by a few miles, right? It's a pinprick in the overall size of Montreal. Ochelaka. Curtis is here talking about the trails in the sky, where they play tic-tac-toe up there. That's always fun. So be careful. Be careful out there. The shenanigans. Indeed. So if you haven't already, please consider giving a guy one of these here as we get the ball rolling here with the show. Thank you very much to everybody who's already shared and subscribed and all that there good stuff. Appreciate it. And again, welcome to the new names, new faces seeing around the channel in the last few weeks. So yeah, thank you very much for your support as well. Good to see you. Thanks for jumping onto this freight train of shenanigans as we head off the rails here. I don't even know what that means. But anyways, Mad Fiddler in the box says, my parents took us to Montreal from Maine in 1969. And we were at the site of the previous World's Fair. My dad was always a day late and a dollar short. Yeah, that was Expo 67. And my parents went to Expo 67. As a matter of fact, this little camera right here, they purchased prior to going to Expo. And they got married in 1969, and they took said camera with them on their honeymoon to New York City. New York City? That's right. They went to New York City for their honeymoon. They said it was great. Except for when they went up to the Statue of Liberty, they had the torch and the arm closed for renovations and repairs. So they could only go into the crown portion. So they were a little bummed about that. But, it is what it is. Jabru Joe in the box. Hello. Cousin Vinny is here. There he is. Hey, Frankie and fellow future asylum inmates. Indeed. Martin's here. Hello. Howdy and welcome. So speaking of links below, and speaking of Cousin Vinny, because, when you get your Cousin Vinny and you get Frankie Fingers over here.
So, Tommy, where have you been, huh? I've been watching Newest Reset. Huh? Oh, you know, it's New West Reset. It's this thing on YouTube. He goes around, he does his boots on the ground thing. They'll tell you.
Say you care.
And speaking of links below and Cousin Vinny, yes, links for my location map. Cousin Vinny feverishly works on and created that whole thing. You click on that and it takes you to, the goggle maps with all my little channel icons. This here thing. Yeah, and you click on that and it opens up the side panel, gives you a little blurb, and then the link to the video. Speaking of videos, links for BitChute, MeWe, down there as well. And of course, as always, we're broadcasting simultaneously over on Bumble. That's right, the green platform, the fighting platform over there that you can't say on HooTubes because they don't like it. But anyways, and a guy's email. So if you want to send me some show ideas or want to, turn a cat hep to something, psst, hey, bud, check this out. Well, there you go. You could send a guy an email. And as Hippie Shake was so kind to point out, PayPal link down there as well, should you be so inclined. And, I do have a job, right? A guy works. So, the stuff, the donations that I get on PayPal, that I get stuff for the channel for that. Like for example, I just recently, and by recently I mean a day or two ago, just purchased this. That's right, it's a gimbal with all kinds of bells and whistles on it. So no more shaky cam for the boots on the ground videos. I've got her already good to go in this little pouch that comes in, and yeah. Stuff like that. You see what I'm saying? So thank you for everybody, to everybody for all your support. Really, really appreciate it. Of course, the best way to support the channel is just to, say hello in the comments. If you're watching this after the fact, say howdy, and hit the like, and then do all the things. Do all the things that you hear mailing channels ask you to do. Yada yada. Anyway. So the astounding architecture. Why did I stumble over that? The astounding architecture of old world Montreal, episode 88 here. And it's Sunday Fun Day. So again, thank you very much for winding down your weekend with me. Really appreciate it. Little heads up from Martin. He says, I'm watching on my phone with Clearview app, so no chat, I'm afraid. So if you're saying howdy to Martin, he can't see that. He can't at all. Not one bit. Not one bit. But I'll tell you what, Martin, everybody's saying howdy. So there you go. Yeah, thank you. Ms. Grandma says, cool gadget. Yeah, so, well, thanks to all of you, everybody, for supporting the channel. That's just trying to do better, trying to improve on things. And one of the things that I always get, well, there's two comments I get a lot is, will you hold that camera still? And the other one is, what's with the hand and the fingers in front of the camera all the time? Those are the two I get the most. To which, on the first point of hold it still, usually I reply, can you give a fella a chance to work on it? I'm working on it. And the fingers comment, well, it's too late now. I mean, I always talk with my hands. What am I going to do? Let you stare at a static background? You got to be animated. I don't know. I point at stuff on my boots on the ground videos. That's kind of where it came from. So it is what it is. Excuse me, just having a slurp of my hot tea. I suppose I could. Well, really, that's, I got to come clean here. The PayPal, it's just so I could get manicures. That's all it is, really. I'm not buying gimbals and a new mouse for the computer and a new tripod so I can shoot boots in the ground. No, I'm just getting manicures. Nope, that's not true, because in half my videos you can see hangnails and dirt under my fingernails. So, it is what it is. Anyway, quit screwing around. Generally, I just drink orange Pico tea. I'm not a big tea drinker. I'm kind of a coffee guy. Canadians do drink a lot of tea, but I'm not a big tea drinker. The only time I drink tea is if I'm feeling under the weather. I'll drink orange Pico with a little bit of honey and a little lemon in it. But to drink a warm liquid while I'm live streaming to keep the vocal cords nimbly bimbly and all moistened and flexible, I just drink a decaffeinated chai tea. So, yeah. No, I neglect my feet. I totally neglect them. No, all the money, I just pour all of that money all over my hands, and I totally ignore my feet. Yeah, that's that's right. Cousin Vinny says, Frankie and I really just go to the salon. Yeah. And then once we just drive to a salon somewhere, and we have a spa day. Just a couple of fellas, just a couple of wild and crazy fellas having a spa day. We'll go to a little town so we know we don't have to make an appointment, and we can just walk in and, we'll do mani-pedis and that whole thing, and drink mimosas. And then we'll realize, dang, we better shoot some footage in this town. So we'll quickly run around and shoot some buildings, and then then we're out of there. Al says, I drink Yorkshire Gold. I don't even know what that is. That sounds like a breed of dog that you'd see at the dog show. That big dog show over in the UK there. Anyway. Chai tea, yeah, chai tea is good. Mimosas, yeah, well, you gotta have the mimosas. You gotta have the mimosas, especially if you're having brunch, I guess. It's a rule. It's in the books. You look it up. It's in this book right here, The Call of England. It's in that book. It's chapter 6. It says when you have brunch, you gotta have mimosas. Champagne and orange juice. Whoever thought that up? Whoever was the first to try that, by the way? I often think about that when I look at foods or read recipes. Like, who was the first fool to try that ever? Right? Like a kiwi? Looks like it's already moldy on the outside. Like, who's going to tear that open and, I bet you that's sweet, juicy, and delicious on the inside. You slice it in half and you look on the inside. No, it's green and it's got a whole bunch of little black specks in it that they could be seeds, they could be insects. I don't know. It's hard to tell. They're so small. But then somebody decides, that's it. I'm just going to dive headfirst into the deep end and hope for the best here. And it turns out to be delicious. Jesse Nix in the box. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Like Alfred Hitchcock used to say, good evening. Yeah, well, now that I'm this big shot on YouTube, I have tea and scones and do mani-pedis. And, I travel all over getting manicures and pedicures and drinking mimosas. Nope, I pretty much just stick here in Calgary. Boots on the ground every Friday. Vintage footage every Wednesday. Just like a nice little midweek old-timey footage set to music. And then every Sunday back here live. Once in a while, I'd take a little road trip. And I bring you along with me. Are these books recommended reading? Well, Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll, definitely. The Tales of Mystery and Imagination, Edgar Allan Poe, a collection of his works. Yeah, for sure. The Admiral, down here. by Martin Dibner. It's quite good. This one I have not yet read. I just bought it at a secondhand store for $2. The Call of England. I have no idea what it's about. I think it has something to do with battles. I don't know. Something to do with English battles and history. Who knows? Cousin Vinny's saying, you do know a suspicious amount about fashion, though. Well, I used to be, back in the day, a haberdasher. You see, I was in the clothing industry. The high-end clothing industry. Worked for a couple of high-end menswear stores here in Calgary back in my early 90s through to sort of the, I don't know, mid 2000s. Then I said, the hell with that. But I learned a lot, actually. Not just about fashion, but about the construction of garments and so on and so forth. You know, if you're slinging suits that cost $3,000 and dress shirts that cost $250, a bloody necktie is like, $150, $200 or more. You want to buy yourself a pair of socks? Yeah, make with $65, pal, right now. So, Vaughn in the box. Good day, good day. Good to see you. Got your message earlier that you were you driving today? You're driving today, perhaps. If you are, don't watch this and drive. Jeez, you're gonna flip that thing. I don't need to tell you that, though. You're a pro. You're a pro. The only thing I'm a professional at is heel-toeing it around Calgary here. But for an awkward segue, today's show, we're going to heel-toe it around Montreal. So what do you say we quit messing around and get into this here a little bit? Just going to share a couple of photos with you real quick. Of course, we'll look at the official story. And then we'll drop the guy down, in the second half of the show. And we'll look around. Vaughn says, yeah, on a break. In the zoo car park. Oh, donuts. You're having donuts. Beauty. That's beauty, eh? Jeez, you're talking to a Canadian. That's all you got to say to get my attention. Psst. Hey, bud. Yeah? Donuts. All right, I'm listening. You don't even need to specify what kind of donut. Is it a jelly donut? Is it a maple dipped donut? Is it a chocolate glazed donut? Is it a cruller? An apple fritter? An eclair? A Boston cream? It doesn't matter. As long as they're boneless. As long as they're boneless. Ridiculous. Anyway, if you hear a siren in the background, yep, that's right. The window's open because it's so nice out. Ambulance. So that's not good. Let me know in the chat, by the way, in the box here, if you drive, whether it's a truck, a bus, a car, a minivan, a motorcycle, what siren do you hate hearing the most? Ambulance, fire truck, or police car? Oh, no, it's the cops. Then you're instantly looking, is my seatbelt fastened? Was I speeding? Are my headlights on? Do I have an open beer in my hands? Phillips is boneless pizza. Oh, yes, hopefully. Hopefully boneless pizza. Some people are crazy and they put chicken on a pizza. And then instead of pizza sauce, it's got like a barbecue sauce. First of all, those people are out of their minds. But second of all, if you do that, hey, each to his own. Yeah, I'm Canadian, so we put, ham and pineapple on a pizza, call it Hawaiian. We invented that for some reason. But anyway, yeah, be careful if you're having the chicken on your pizza. Watch out for them bones. You definitely want boneless pizza. Cinnamon donut with coffee. Delicious. Delicious. Kathy says SUV. Ah, Hippie's got a Mini Cooper. There you go. Uh-huh. Yeah, Philip says police. Yeah. I don't drive anymore. Not because I can't. It's just, it's an expense that, I'm lucky that I live in a part of the city that I'm close to downtown, but I don't get all the downtown shenanigans. So I can walk everywhere I need to get to, work. I work and live in the same community. But if I even got to go downtown for some, God knows why, some reason, I don't know, let's say my local bank branch caught on fire and burnt down. Oh, now I got to go to the next closest branch. Well, that's downtown. 20, 25 minutes I can walk there, right? But it seems like a world away because I'm in this old neighborhood in the southwest side of the city. And aside from the odd ambulance going by, you wouldn't know it. Yeah, that's the thing, is if you got a large family or, you got a couple of kids or children's, extended family. Excuse me, extended family. I choked on my own spit there for some reason. Then, you're going to need more than a Mini Cooper. You're going to need more than a Mini Cooper. A Nissan Altima. Nice. Nice. All right. Let's quit messing around here and let's have a look at what the Wikipedia says specifically about old Montreal. Because, the history of Montreal is based on old Montreal. It's by the name alone, you can guess that it's probably a bit older. Old Montreal is probably older than Montreal. The more astute among you have already figured that out. So it'd be kind of repetitive to read both. So we'll just jump to what the Wikipedia says here for old Montreal. And again, links below for everything here, as per usual. What am I doing way up there? I'm usually down here. There. Old Montreal. All right. Let's see what you got. Old Montreal, or in French, Vieux Montréal, is a historic neighborhood within the municipality of Montreal in the province of Quebec, Canada, home to the Old Port of Montreal. The neighborhood is bordered on the west by McGill Street, McGill University. Anyone say MK Ultra? Anyway, north by Rue de Fortification, on the east by Rue Saint-André, and on the south by the St. Lawrence River. Following recent amendments, the neighborhood has expanded to include the Rue des Sœurs Grises in the west, which is the Grey Nuns Street, Saint Antoine Street to the north, and Saint Hubert Street in the east. All right, sure. So basically, boundaries are, well, you can see here's Montreal here. This whole island is Montreal. And old Montreal is just like a little bitty piece of it. Just an itty bitty bit. Founded by French settlers. You don't say, really, with all of the French names and so on. Okay. I'm shocked. In 1642 as Fort Ville-Marie. Oh, a star fort. Well, isn't that nice? Yep, got star forts up in Canadian land too there, eh, buddy? Oh, for sure, eh? Old Montreal is home to many structures dating back to the era of New France. So New France was a territory colonized by France in North America, beginning with the exploration of the Gulf of St. Lawrence by Jacques Cartier in 1534, and ending with the secession of New France to Great Britain and Spain in 1763. The 17th century settlement lends its name to the borough in which the neighborhood lies, Ville-Marie. In 1964, much of Old Montreal was declared a historic district by the Ministre des Affaires Culturelles du Québec, the Quebec Cultural Affairs Minister. So here we can get our history of Montreal. Yeah. You can just click on that link later on if you like. Because like I said, a lot of it's going to be repetitive. So in 1605, Samuel de Champlain established a fur trading post. Really, fur trading in Canada? You don't say. Jessie says, police, that's what she does. That's the siren she doesn't want to hear. Because it's mostly highway patrol and state troopers. Yeah, they're not like your sort of old-timey, friendly neighborhood police officer who's, based out of some precinct in your neighborhood that, the old-timey flatfoot, the beat cop that will walk around and, you were lost, you could ask for directions. Now they look like paramilitary forces. Well, they are paramilitary forces. So yeah, the state troopers are always a little bit more gung-ho. Anyways, he established his fur trading outpost at Place Royale, Old Montreal, at the confluence of the St. Lawrence River and the Petite Rivière Saint-Pierre, or the Small St. Pierre River, a former river in the area. Wait, a former river? Is that so the river's not there anymore? Has it been diverted? I don't know. I have no idea. Anyways, it was adjacent to present-day Place Douville and Pointe-à-Callière Museum. Okay, sure. However, the settlers were later forced to abandon the outpost due to incursions by the Iroquois. Oh, those dirty, dirty, savage, wild Indians. Incursions. It's probably more like, excuse me there, buddy, but you're kind of like muscling in on a place that we pretty much live here, eh? You could try over there, but we live here already. They're bought. Anyway, they always make the Indigenous First Nations peoples out to be either the noble, stoic man on the horse staring over the prairie, observing the massive herds of buffalo, or the wild, loincloth-wearing, scalping savage, right? Anyway, the original settlement of Montreal was founded in 1642. It was known as Ville Marie and was located in roughly the same location as the trading post set up by Champlain. The founder, Paul Chamedy de Maisonneuve, built a fort in 1643, which would serve as the headquarters for the Société Notre-Dame de Montréal, the Notre Dame Society of Montreal, I guess, an organization whose mission was to convert members of First Nations to Christianity and establish a Christian settlement in New France. So basically muscling in on the indigenous peoples and saying, yeah, we're just going to live here now. And by the way, here's a Bible and Jesus and whatnot. And the natives are like, we already have a pretty sophisticated and complex culture here. That's, and we're just one peoples. I mean, there's tons of other peoples all around here that have their own distinct cultures. Thanks. But anyways, the company in charge of managing the settlement was founded by the Sulpician Jean-Jacques Ollier and by Jérôme Leroyer. Okay. Society of Priests of Saint Sulpice is basically they're the Sulpicians. It's basically, the Catholics, booting the doors in off the hinges and saying, hey, we're here. So after the Notre Dame Society dissolved in 1663, the Sulpicians, who arrived in 1657, became the seigneurs of Montreal, as King Louis XIV of France took personal control over the colony. So he was the kind of the go-between between King Louis and the people. The new system gave them the island of Montreal with the obligation to live there and ensure its development by cultivating the land. You can live there as long as you're not a squatting bum, eh? You gotta like work and stuff. In 1665, Louis XIV sent 1,200 men from the regiment of Carignan-Sierre. I don't know what that is. The Sulpicians organized their seigneuries at the center of the island, established first grid of streets in the colony following the paths of existing trails. So neighbor's dog's going crazy out there. He's enjoying the weather. Let him enjoy it. So following the paths of, I guess, of the native indigenous First Nations peoples, they established a grid of streets. So I guess everybody walked in a complete straight line and turned at 90-degree angles to form this grid. Although later on, as we'll see, they also say that old Montreal is heavily influenced by European cities, most especially Paris, and that would explains the windy streets and the narrow streets, and also, again, which one is it, right? Anyways, these early streets included Notre Dame Street, St. Paul Street, and St. Jacques Street. Buildings of the area include the Hotel Dieu de Montreal, the Hotel of God in Montreal, the St. Sulpice Old Seminary, and the Notre Dame Church, later replaced by the Basilica. So I guess this etching is the church, and today, boom, there's the Basilica. Scott Pike in the box. Hello, howdy. Good to see you. Thanks for shooting in. What's Joe talking about? Jabberoo Joe says, I always loved the road sign in Michigan that said, have one for the road and you'll have a trooper as a chaser. Huh. That's kind of clever. Really? It's actually not bad. Not bad. Yeah. Vincent, cousin Vinny saying, Hotel of God. 5-star, I assume. Yeah, one would hope. One would hope. I gave it 3.5, and now I'm gonna have to be in purgatory for 500 years before I even get considered to walk through the pearly gates. Great, thanks. Anyway, in early 18th century, the name Montreal, which originally referred to the mountain Mount Royal, gradually replaced that of Ville Marie. The arrival in 1657 of Marguerite Bourgeois, who founded the Congregation Notre Dame, and the arrival of the Jesuits and Recollects in 1692 helped to ensure the Catholic character of the settlement. So in other words, we're going to keep everything the way it is because we say so. You got to love them Jesuits. I like how specific, they are with certain things. And other things are so vague. Just early in the 18th century, the name Montreal gradually replaced that of Ville Marie. And then they just jump onto it. And then, the Jesuits and everybody showed up. Okay. The original fortifications of Montreal, erected in 1717 by Gaspard Chosgros de Léry, they haven't underlined him, so I don't know who this guy is. But anyway, formed the boundaries of Montreal at the time. De Léry had the fortifications constructed to secure the settlement from a British invasion and to allow future expansion inside the walls. Though the walls may have provided security from invasion, they created a different problem. A large concentration of wooden houses with fireplaces led to many devastating fires. In 1721, Montreal received a royal order from France to ban wood construction. Buildings were to be constructed using stone, but the ban was never fully respected. So, yeah. So there you go. There you go, Scott. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's probably not the type of hotel that the ladies of the evening would frequent for, charge by the hour for this room. Anyways, British controlled Canada, or New France, became a British colony in 1763 after the 7 Years' War. British rule radically changed the face of old Montreal, partially due to significant fires that destroyed much of the city and provided the British with a mandate to rebuild it. In May 1765, fire destroyed about 110 houses before destroying the old Hotel de Calière and the former General Hospital. So if you get burned by the fire, I guess you're not going to be going to the hospital. In April 1768, 88 houses between Rue Jean-Baptiste, so between Jean-Baptiste Street and the Hotel Vaudreuil were burned, including the Congregation Notre Dame Convent. Wow, Nance Hardwick in the box. Hello. Happy Sunday fun day to you, Nance. Good to see you. Sounds like there was something going on. They always talk about, the settlers and then the wild Indians was fighting, but it sounds to me here like the Jesuits and the Catholics were fighting with somebody else over the area. And, whoever they were fighting against was like, yeah, okay, well, we're just going to burn down your settlement then. Burn down your churches and your convents. Anyways, between the two fires, nearly half the buildings in the city were destroyed. In the following years, the city was rebuilt even more densely. Because, yeah, that's what you want to do after fires. Put your houses even closer together. Because, we're not going to learn our lesson at all. On June 6th, 1803, a massive fire destroyed the prison, the church, and the dependencies of Jesuits, a dozen houses, and Chateau Vaudreuil, which was a stately residence and college in Montreal. Okay. Two spectators bought the chateau's gardens, offered 1/3 to the city, and divided the rest into 7 lots of their own. Oh, so they bought up the land that the chateau was on and parceled it off. The city's oldest public monument, Nelson's Column, was erected in 1809. It's a monument designed by Scottish architect Robert Mitchell and erected in 1809 in Place Jacques-Cartier, Montreal, Quebec. It's dedicated to the memory of Admiral Horatio Nelson. Following his death at the Battle of Trafalgar, Lord Nelson's penis, I guess. It was erected in 1809 as part of the former garden plot given to the city. The space became the new market square called Marché Neuf, or New Market, before assuming its present name of Place Jacques-Cartier in 1845. The space occupied by the Church of the Jesuits became the Place Vauquelin, and Montreal City Hall arose from the old Jesuit gardens in 1873. I'm wanting to skip ahead, but there's just, because it's so old and there's so many weirdo things going on here. In 1812, a fire destroyed the luxurious Mansion House Hotel, which had been popular with the Beaver Club. Who the hell are the Beaver Club? Is a gentleman's dining club founded in 1785 by the predominantly English-speaking men who had gained control of the fur trade of Montreal. Ah, I see. Hence the name Beaver, because, Canada was built on the back of the fur trade, and most especially those beaver pelts. Boy, I tell you what. Scott says, fire and Jesuits. Odd, that. Well, yeah, you're right. Jesse Nick says that material doesn't burn with just fire. What are they using to destroy these bricks? Yeah, because they had already made the mandate that you can't build wood anymore. But, they hand wave it by saying, yeah, but most people didn't comply. Anyway, so, and it's that housed the first public library, the Beaver Club and the public library destroyed. It was replaced by the British American Hotel, which contained the John Molson built Royal Theatre. Yes, we've looked at Mr. Molson here on the channel before. He's a robber baron, but with him it was beer, mostly. Very similar to the Bush family, the Bush beer family down in the U.S. They're very, rubber-stamped narratives, with the vertical integration of they own their own railroads, they own their own banks. They were the first to have refrigerated boxcars to ship cold beer, and yada, 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 yada. They had their own land to grow their own grain and hops and so on and so forth. All right, getting ahead of myself here. The city's first permanent theaters, this Molson Theater. The hotel burned in 1833 and was rebuilt in 1845 at the Bon Secours Market. In 1849, a riot caused a fire with political consequences when, protesting against a law, a Tory crowd burned down the Parliament building in the old Marché Sainte-Anne, in other words, the St. Anne Boulevard, in this place, Douville, Place Douville. The site of the Parliament fire housed Montreal's first fire station in 1903. The building still exists as the Montreal Historic Center. There's been a lot of fires, man. A lot of fires burning down a lot of stuff. I'm not sure. That's an excellent question. Jabberoo Joe in the box wondering, did the Beaver Club put out a monthly magazine? No, that's the Bunny Club. Colonial authorities decided upon the first radical transformation of the area in 1804 with the destruction of the fortifications surrounding the heart of Montreal. Complete in 1815, this enlarged the perimeter of Old Montreal and improved access to suburban communities. In the 19th century, the 19th century witnessed the emergence of a bourgeoisie of mostly Scottish merchants. You don't say. The growing activity of the port changed the urban landscape. Old Montreal became less residential as rich Scottish and English merchants built extravagant homes closer to Mount Royal in what would become the Golden Square Mile. Yeah, I should do a video or a show just on that. That would almost warrant its own live stream. Anglophone influence became the dominating force in the areas of banking, manufacturing, commerce, and finance. In other words, fur. St. James Street became the financial center of Montreal with large banks such as the Bank of Montreal, the Royal Bank of Canada, insurance companies, and the stock exchange. Yada, yada, yada. Anyways, then there's a bit of a decline of Old Montreal, but then it goes into a renewal after the Great Depression in the 20s. And it starts being given all kinds of funding and grants. Government grants throw money at it. Private investors and so on, and philanthropists and you name it, throw money at it to, upkeep some of the buildings, restoration, all that sort of jazz like that there. Chassis Nick says a pigeon probably started those fires, and Kathy adds to it, yeah, with a cigarette. Yeah. That you never know. You just never know. That was a thing, right? It was that birds were attracted to the glowing ember at the end of a cigarette, a burning cigarette. So they would pick it up and then, oh, it's hot, and drop it and start these massive city fires. I mean, that's almost as ridiculous as what we were originally told, although supposedly it's been debunked. But a lot of people still quote the cow kicking over the Mrs. O'Leary's lantern there and causing the Great Chicago Fire. When really I have my own theory on that, which will be an upcoming live stream, which is a follow-up to an older live stream. But yeah, I've heard of that. But that's I don't know. That just doesn't make any sense to me. You know, it sounds goofy.
Well, that's just silly.
Silly, yes. Idiotic, yes.
Yeah, right. A bunch of frat boys were drinking, and they decided to light their fats on fire. We call those blue angels, you see. But you don't do it, you know, you don't do it bare-assed, because you know, it's not singeing and burning will occur. Do it through your denim jean dungarees is what you do. Yeah, they burnt down the University of whatever, insert university name here in the box, because of, you know, frat boy hijinks of lighting their fats on fire. PCS World in the box. Howdy, howdy. Welcome. Welcome. Yeah. Because that's supposedly the big one for some reason, right? We as Canadians are taught about the Chicago Fire, the Great Chicago Fire. I don't remember being taught about any of these fires in Montreal when I was a kid, and I went to school from, you know, kindergarten until grade 4 in Montreal. And I got pretty clear memories of going to school, most especially, you know, grade 1, 2, especially 2, 3, 4, and onward. You know, kindergarten, you know, there's a lot of memories there, but they're spotty compared to, you know, once a little Frankie fella, you know, reaches, you know, 7, 8 years old, 6, 7, 8. But as Canadians, we're also taught about the Great London Fire as well, because, you know, Canada and London, I guess, you know, England and whatnot, and, you know, former British Commonwealth and all that stuff. The Queen / King is still our monarch, right? And we have a Governor General that is the go-between, the middleman. Ah, okay. PCS World says it was a big part of my history. I'm from northern Wisconsin. They talked about it all the time. Ah, yeah. I don't even know what that thing. What is that? Galoises? I could barely even pronounce that word, and I probably still butchered it. Galoises? Galoshes? No, I don't know. Anyway, let's quickly look at a small file of old photos I have. Then we'll take a mid-show break, as per usual, give you a sneak peek at your upcoming midweek Wednesday's vintage footage. It's just a short one. It's right around, just around 2.5 minutes. And then when we come back, we'll drop the guy down on the Google machine on the Goggle Maps there. French cigarettes. Oh, I see. Vaughn says a mate of mine actually lit a fire back in high school. It was at a party in front of about 20 people. He did it bare-hined and a little nuggy pot. Oh no. Well, probably because of the it startled him that it actually worked. So he sharded a bit. We still call him Nugget. Oh, there, of course. People don't forget. People don't forget. uh, let's just say, and I'm not talking from personal experience, but I did go to school with a kid that accidentally peed his pants, much like that. What was that terrible Adam Sandler movie? But he peed his pants in front of the basically in front of the entire school, because he did it outside during lunchtime after everybody had eaten their lunch, and then all the kids are outside playing. I don't know what happened. He was in the middle of something and tried to hold it. I don't know. He miscalculated on the timing, and he forgot to factor in the distance times the time that it takes to open doors to get in down the hallway to get to the bathroom from outside. I don't know what happened, but he didn't make it. And like, we called him Pee-Pee for years after that. Just, hey, Pee-Pee. And he was like, frick. PCS World says, I know guys have singed the hair a few times. Yeah, you don't do it bare hiney. What you do is you put on a pair of jeans, because they're good. The denim weave is nice and thick, so you get a layer of protection there, first of all. That's why the coal miners and the gold miners supposedly wore their Levi's dungaree jeans, and the horses couldn't even pull them apart. Horses!
You sure about that?
But also the idea is to wear them as tight as possible. That way it's right up against the surface of a guy's butt cheeks, and the fart doesn't get caught in the space between your trousers and your bare ass, you see. I know I sound like an expert. I'm really not. I'm just using logic and reasoning here. But this thing's really gone off the rails. Like, really, really fast. So let's look at some photographs here real quick, because wow, we gotta rein this thing in here. Dates on these are kind of all over the place in terms of build dates on these, but most of the photos are taken in and around 1900-ish and onwards. In some cases in the 60s, but that's because I just try to grab the some nice photos with some decent resolution in them. So yeah, let's have a look here. See what is what. I think most of these are still standing. I don't think there's any of these that were supposedly destroyed in a fire, but look at this beaut. They've even got a greenhouse back here with its own little mud flood window, aside from these ones on the front of this sort of, just looks like sort of a turret detail, but no, they've got a nice balcony up there, massive arches, and then just all this tech everywhere. Just exquisite. This is the courthouse. Or if you translate directly from French, it's the Justice Palace. But it's the courthouse. But again, you got a dome here with some kind of fencing around it. It's tech up here and all kinds of ether fencing, and just tons of glorious detail all over this thing. Big massive pillars or columns, lovely capitals on there too, sort of the Phoenician wave, I think is what that is. But again, some really low windows, even if let's just say it has a legit basement. I mean, that's still a lot of extra work and construction in terms of time, money, manpower, horse and buggy power. You can see it's in horse and buggy times. This was built pre-steam shovel. So they would literally excavate by just digging. Dudes digging with shovels, loading up carts that would be pulled probably by 2 mules or 2 horses up a dirt ramp, out of the basement that they're digging, the foundation that they're digging. I mean, it's just a lot of extra work. So this is that photo from the 60s, but this is the old hotel here, I believe. This is the Place Vauquelin. You can see even here off in the background, the spire peeking out from behind this big, ugly modern building. Back here, you've got a beautiful old worlder. Of course, right here in the foreground, this thing is just fantastic. And again, just thinking of not only, these, bobules and extra carvings and whatever, but just all of these angles. You've got a mansard roof here, and then you've added these dormers that have pediments over them. Like, yeah, okay, you're a hotel, you're competing with other hotels, you want to attract your guests, so you want to make it kind of fancy. But I mean, if you're this lady or this fella here, and you're looking at the hotel, you can't even really see a lot of this from down there. And once you're inside, obviously you can't. Here's the stock exchange in the banking district, dominated by the Scottish, apparently. But look at this. All these garlands of, I guess, fruit. Looks like an apple. Looks like various fruit and vegetables, maybe. I don't know what that has to do with the stock exchange. I guess well, commodities, I guess. This is really fancy. These clowns are going in here just to speculate on, the value of the commodities and the, I don't know, pork bellies and frozen concentrated orange juice or whatever. So they got to have all this fancy stuff just to do that inside, I guess. I don't know. And the lettering never really matches the level. I mean, this is just so opulent and over the top here, even with this crest and everything. But then you just get these crappy, just glued on letters, it looks like. Just use some epoxy and stick those on there, you know what I'm saying? Howdy, Phil. Phil Henry in the box. Good to see you. So now this photo has been altered. But I think it's been altered because it's been made ready for a postcard. Because you can see that these are either painted in. I think the people might be painted in. Some of these vehicles might be there, but they're highlighted with some white paint. And then they add some black paint as well, just to provide some contrast. This looks totally painted in. But then you have other aspects of it. Like, to me, this looks legitimate photograph and off in the distance. But a lot of the elements of this look painted in. Right? Like, why is this car facing this way? Why are these people lined up across the street? Maybe they're waiting for the streetcar. It's just odd. But it gives you an appreciation for the old world structures here. Yeah, that's the thing, is the shading looks off. And I mean, the people in a lot of these vehicles just look phony. Like, if I zoom it in too much, it gets a little bit too pixelated, and then you kind of lose the detail anyway. But it just looks weird. But they would often do that. Then they, watercolor it and then mass produce it as, a postcard. So this is the Bonaventure, Place Bonaventure on Bonaventure Street. Look at this beauty. Man, oh man. Like, what do you need all this for? And like this sort of a crown shaped urn or something. And just what's this thing? I don't know, but we got to have another one over here. It's probably one on this corner. It's just the contrast. It's kind of blown out a bit. Then all these pillars and arches. And just, I mean, this thing's phenomenal. And this is a crummy photo. And again, you can see the time and the level of technology here. So here's the Canadian National train station, the terminus, the end of the line. And it's not this so much, although it's, you can see it goes really deep down. I mean, there's a lower level and then an upper level and then, you know, this big, huge building. But it's, you know, this. That's why I grabbed this photo. Look at this with all the nodes on it. Just all of this ridiculous tech. Like, what is this? And again, way up so high. To be admired by these little tiny people way down here, you know. It's just my house over here with a conical dome on it. That's fine. Nothing fancy. You can see some kind of shenanigans here, because this supposedly is street level here. They've just built this bridge over what they would tell us this. They dug this railway out so that it could pass through the city and they could maintain the street level. You know what I mean? As opposed to building a bunch of underpasses and the train having to share the right of way or whatever. So, I mean, this is street level here. This is all the same level here, okay? Because here's your sidewalk, your car's here, stairs going up to this church here. See that? Right here. Same level all the way across. So then you have like all of this down here. You have some brick way down here, but then underneath that, you even have some other material underneath the brick here. So I'm not really sure what's going on there. You've got what looks like an entrance here to this building, but it's way below street level, like 20 feet below. So yeah, there's all kinds of hankiness in this photo, for sure. But this is just lovely, and this is a head scratcher. Yeah, it's just my house. It's fine. What's all this up here? This tech? No, don't even worry about it. Wow, man. Look at these dormers here. Like portal dormers. And everything's got a little doodad over it. Every window's got something on top of it. Not a keystone in the arch. No, like an extra little carving or embellishment. All this fancy stuff around here. Even this, I don't know what you call that, that sort of semicircular somatic window or rose window or whatever you call that. In this tiny little rounded dormer. And if you think that's easy to build, you try it. I don't want to try that. I mean, building just, you know, a peaked roof dormer would be a pain in the ass enough. But then, you know, you get this down here too. That's funny looking to me. Yeah, Al says amazing. They couldn't build it today. Just cheap fake or just cheap look-alike. Yeah. It is stunning. And yeah, I agree, hippie. It's very decorative. I mean, and again, this is somebody's house. This is private residence. This isn't, some, university building or an old hospital or something. This is, oh no, this is just my house. I live here. Okay, fine. No, I do believe that if you get enough skilled craftsmen and experienced construction workers and you throw a lot of money and a lot of time at it, you could build something like this today out of real stone and real bricks, not that glue-on facade crap, and this would be carved out of real wood, not just something that you buy online as part of a kit that you paint and attach to the front of your house. I'm talking about wood carving guys coming along. Like, I think you could do it, but they'd be like, that'll take you 10 years and cost $10 million. You know what I'm saying? This is in Montreal, Phil. Well, and that's the thing too, is that when you're talking Canada, I would say most especially from the Rocky Mountains eastward, you got to take into account anywhere from 5 to 7 months of winter. And by winter, I mean snow and, below 0 Celsius temperatures. And if you're close to the St. Lawrence or close to the Great Lakes, or if you live in Newfoundland or the Maritimes or New Brunswick, or, you know what I'm saying? You got the North Atlantic right there at your doorstep. So you get cold blowing winds and nor'easters and a lot of wet snow until you get out to the prairies, Manitoba, Saskatchewan and Alberta most especially. You get cold, dry winters. So the snow isn't that wet, heavy stuff at least. But because I'm so close to the Rocky Mountains, we get a lot of it. So you got to think the outer construction of a small building like this, you got to start in May, maybe April, providing you didn't have too much snow and it's a big swampy, wet job site. But let's say you started in April. So you've got April, May, June, July, August, September, and let's be generous and say October. So you've got 7 months out of a 12-month year to build. Now, of course, once you get, the framing done and the walls put up, you don't even have to have the windows put in yet. You could tarp that off and, you could get some heat going on the inside. And then you could start in on your interiors and then you can kind of get the ball rolling. And you could stack your trades and so on and so forth. But just initially erecting the building, I mean, if you don't get that done in 6 to 8 months, you got to shut it down for the winter. You're not going to have a lot of guys out here in minus 25 degrees Celsius with blowing wet, heavy snow. And we get the snow drifts that, 4, 5, 6 feet high. Let alone building something like this. Just a massive stone structure. And again, you got all these dormers, the mansard roof, and dormers all down the side. I mean, they just get silly with it. Not really sure what this castle is here in the background. Gonna have to look into that. But look at this thing back here. Hello. So Windsor Station, a landmark in Montreal, Canada. Beside the station stands St. George's, and on the left, St. James Cathedral. They kind of got a little silly with the statues on this thing. I mean, they're just lousy with statues and domes. You want to have a dome with a cupola, with another dome, some kind of tech on it. Not to be outdone, these guys over here going nuts with all of their, I mean, this is just, and this is a photo of a newspaper clipping, so, or a book, I believe, actually, but you get the idea. Dragon Sage in the box. Howdy, howdy. Good to see you. I mean, stuff like this is what we're going to be looking at. This is a photo from the 60s, but look how clear and beautiful the photo is. So how can a guy not grab this photo and share it with you? I mean, look at this. I can zoom in as much as I want, and it's not going to get too pickleated, but it's just dumbfounding. The guy just gets baffled and befuddled and bewildered. You know, not to mention, you know, all this shenanigans here and this leaf and then, you know, whatever this is with the rosette in it. And I mean, come on, man. Come on, man. I don't even know. You know, you see stuff like this and you know, the build dates, it almost doesn't matter. You know, if this is built in the mid 19th century, it doesn't really matter how they could tell you it took 10 years to build. It's still, you know, with the technology and all the wars between the English and the French and the English and the wild Indians and the fur trading and the fires and it's very hard to look at something like this and go, yeah, sure, I completely accept what you're saying. You know, I have a lot of questions.
Show me all the blueprints.
Well, yeah, it already looks old. And a lot of these already look old. You know, even in the older photographs. Like this is an older photograph. But this building already looks old. Why? Well, because the street's all muddy and there's an angle, so the street is flowing down. So they're going to build this beautiful, opulent building. The Royal Insurance Building, apparently. But you're not going to pave or brick or cobblestone your streets or anything like that. And again, it's here in the background. I mean, there's a lot of stuff like this in old Montreal. But it looks very top-heavy, too, is the other thing. I mean, the tower is taller than the building. The building's a 2-story building if you take away all these embellishments here, right? 2 floors. 10-foot ceilings, 12-foot ceilings, probably. Let's be conservative and say 10-foot ceilings. So up to here, you got, what, maybe 25 feet. But from the top of here to the top of this tower with this whatever doodad is on here, the tower's taller than the building. So it looks like this portion of the building should be taller as well, at least to me. And this sloping ground, I mean, you can't be bothered to level it so that these windows are the same size as these windows on this side. You know? I mean, if you can build this, and you could build star forts in the 1600s in Montreal, or what would be later become Montreal, you'd think, well, okay, if you could build a star fort, which is basically massive terraforming, because it's a stone structure or a brick structure or a combination of two, but it's also earthworks and mounds. So if you can do all that, then you should be able to level this and then build your structure. It just makes it easier. Makes it easier for the construction workers and the tradesmen and the architect, because they don't have to worry about different sets of angles and measurements on different sides of the building. You see what I'm saying? Oh, I don't know. Ms. Grandma says, sorry, guys, I dozed off. I better liven it up here then a little bit. There's the thumbnail anyways. So there's Notre Dame Basilica, which used to be Notre Dame Church. And then that, of course, burned down. Dang, can't see the clock face on this. Look at the massive stone arch here too. Even the smaller buildings, you know, big, everything's got arch windows. Just like we can't even hardly build rectangular or square windows, you know. And if we do, well, then we're going to put arches on the top or something, you know. It's amazing. Look at this joint, man. I think it's a museum now, but I think it used to be a hospital, or, I mean, first of all the levels, just, that's just nuts in itself. I mean, there's earth piled up here, and then it's level, and then because that's piled up here, and then we'll make it convenient for you we'll put some stairs right into the ground, because this is such an extreme height and angle, I guess, that it would make it easier for folks. We'll put some stairs. So I mean, this is wonky enough as it is. But then the fact that, well, of course it looks like a freaking castle, even though they try to say there are no castles in the New World, and definitely not in Canada land. No wonder the Scottish dominated this part of the city. It reminded them of the castles back home in Scotland. Aye, laddie, look at this. It's ready to go. We just walk in, dust her off. A wee bit of spit and polish, and she's good. That's a terrible accent. Sorry, no offense to any Scotsmen or women in the listening in. Sorry, but I mean, come on, man. What's going on with this thing? And it's huge. It's an entire complex, way back here too. Hi. Don't forget about me, way back here. Whatever this is built into the cliff face. Is this a funicular up here? I don't know. Dirt just piled up here up against the building here too. So I mean, there's just lots of, obviously the main entrance here is lower than this main entrance. So like, does this go down further, and does this whole thing go down further? Because you can see the street just goes way down here and keeps going down. They have to build retaining walls. I mean, it's just, I mean, I'm calling it, man. Shenanigans everywhere. Just absolute shenanigans. Daphne's here. Daphne Blakey, sorry, in the box. Hello. Hello. Yeah, I mean, it is beautiful. I don't mean to sound pissed off when I'm talking about it. It's just because, again, it's a head scratcher. But it's gorgeous. Don't get me wrong. Yes, it's incredible. Yeah, if it's not a castle, a prison, or an asylum, or maybe a hospital, then why else build it, right? Like, I mean, it's... And of course, you got like really low windows down here. I don't know. This might even be a partial door, because this is a window. You can see it's got a lower sill in the window. So maybe this is a door here. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, a guy can go crazy looking at this thing. It's baffling. Baffling. But that's a good place to, I'm running really long here. It's a good place to end it for now. We're going to take a mid-show break here. And as per usual, I'll give you a sneak peek at your upcoming midweek as a reminder, or if you're new here to a fella's channel, every Friday I upload a boots on the ground video, generally here around Calgary, checking out old buildings, maybe not quite as excellent as that one we just looked at, but some of them get pretty close. Occasionally, take a little road trip and check out a small prairie town that has no business having giant sandstone and brick buildings because there's only 1,000 people living in it, but they have them. So that's every Friday. Every Sunday, of course, here, the live show, and every Wednesday, vintage footage video. Find some old-timey footage, put it to some music, and kind of give you a little peek of it here on the show, on the live show. So let's do that. And when we come back, we'll drop the little man down with the goggle machine and look at some street view of some old buildings in old Montreal. So let me just cue up the video for you here. This is an observatory. This is the David Dunlap Observatory. This is the unveiling of this supposedly brand new observatory in 1931. It's just over 2 minutes long. And this is not in Montreal, Quebec. This is actually in what today would be, it's in Ontario. It's close to Toronto, what would be modern day Toronto, I think. Anyway, David Dunlap Observatory unveiling from 1931. We'll see you back here just over 2 minutes. So stick around. Be right back. Cheers. All right, and I'm back. Welcome back, everyone. Once again, thank you very, very much for shooting in, joining me here for another one, another live one. Frankie here, New West Reset. New West Reset Live, episode 88 here today. Sunday, October 20th, 2024. Still pretty nice out here as we're at about 6:30 p.m. local time, mountain time here in southern Alberta, Calgary, Alberta, Canada land. 15 degrees Celsius still. That's still like around 60-ish Fahrenheit. As the sun's getting low in the sky here. Still quite nice. Got snow forecast for tomorrow because, you know, Calgary. Can be almost low 70s Fahrenheit, or around 20 degrees Celsius one day and the snow the next. Fantastic. Anyway, thank you for joining me. Really appreciate it. Welcome, everybody, old friends and new. Thanks for joining me here, and thanks for winding down your weekend on this Sunday fun day. If you haven't already, give a guy one of these. It just kind of helps to push me out into the YouTube's algorithm. Speaking of YouTubes, welcome and howdy to everybody on YouTubes and on the Bumble. Broadcasting simultaneously on both. So appreciate all of your support, everybody. Links below for the Wikipedia that we looked at the top half of the show. And as mentioned, links below where you can get a hold of a fella as well, email and whatnot. All the guys' socias, as the kids probably don't even say anymore. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Old-timey space peepers, supposedly. So, yeah. Sage is saying that's... So it's... Okay, so it's close to Hamilton, then. Yeah, that would be interesting. That would be very interesting. By the way, if you haven't, please subscribe to Dragon Sage's channel. Excellent content. He does boots on the ground and explores the Hamilton area. Finds old-timey buildings there. And but he's also a bowyer. He makes bows. Handmade bows. That ain't easy. You think it's easy? You try it. Daphne says, I'm in Charlotte. Ah. Okay. Uh-huh. Yeah. Well. No damage, though. Well, that's okay. Well, that's good. That's good. Yeah, it's been rough. It's been a rough month. Daphne also saying we got the Baltimore house here in North Carolina. That's probably old world too. Yeah, that's, you know what? That's part of the reason why I started this channel, to be completely frank. Haha. Get the pun, Frankie. Anyway, I was watching other channels and I was seeing the stuff that they were showing. And I'm like, wait a second, that looks almost identical to a building here in Calgary. And in some cases, that looks almost identical to a building here in my neighborhood. Because by the official story, I live in one of the older neighborhoods here in Calgary. So I thought, well, I got to let people know somehow. Because when they see what I see, then they'll be like, yeah, okay, like, we're getting somewhere here with this. The official story, the timeline's been messed with, build dates have been messed with. Just the entire official story of how the West was won and all that, everything's been messed with. So we don't know shit from Shinola. You know what I'm saying? So all I want to do is share my exuberance. I thought, well, if I show people that, okay, what Streets of Tartaria is showing in these towns, this is kind of what started the whole thing. The Streets of Tartaria, Caleb and his channel. Well, if Streets of Tartaria is showing some state capitol building in some town, backwater town in the middle of nowhere, and it looks exactly like, an old church or an old post office or whatever here in Calgary. Like, I got to show people this, right? Like, if I share this, more people will become aware of the messing around and the mucking around with stuff. I thought, well, the best way to do it is I'll just start a channel And I'll encourage other people to do what I'm doing as well, and what Caleb, Streets of Tartaria, was doing. It's just poking around and looking around. Because I bet you the city or town that you live in has something there that could be a pre-reset, what we loosely call old world, right? Whether it be a church or a courthouse or an old post office or just some random old stone house up in the hills in the rich part of town that sticks out like a sore thumb compared to everything else, whatever the case may be. And if you live out in the country, if you live on a farm or a ranch or an acreage or somewhere, I bet you the next closest town to you's got something hanky. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't even necessarily have to be a big city. I mean, Caleb proved that in Streets of Tartaria. But he's bouncing all over Utah. And he's, some of these towns are, 5,000 people. Some are 500 people. And I see the same thing here when I bounce around southern Alberta and I'm lucky enough to go on a road trip. Cousin Vinny gets the vehicle and, he and Frankie, no, we don't do a spa day. We actually do go out to these little towns and do boots on the ground explorations. And some little town in southern Alberta, it might be the same thing. They might have 5,000 people or they might have 500. And it's the same everywhere. So yeah, I definitely encourage people, like Sage does that in his city. And I just encourage people to poke around a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Just poke around a bit. Yeah, and that's it. And so the legend of Frankie Fingers began. S12 is here. Hi, Frankie and Frankie's friends. Just arrived to Calgary, and you in Montreal. Ah, wait, you live here in Calgary? If you do, that's fantastic. And yep, looking at old Montreal. Old Montreal. So thanks for joining me. Once again, thanks everybody for your support. Thanks again, everybody who shared and subscribed. If you're watching this after the live, thank you for all of your support as well. And again, as a reminder, links below for everything. So what do you say we open up the goggle machine here and take a look at the maps and just see what is what, Let's just type in Old Montreal and get it all queued up here for you. All right. Okay, so hopefully you can see that. Okay, I think you can. Yeah, it looks like you can. Let me know in the box, in the chat, just to make sure that you can see and hear everything okay here so far with this nonsense. So Old Montreal is just this little tiny area here within, Montreal, the island of Montreal. All of this shenanigans here is all Montreal. But Old Montreal is just in these little borders right here, including the old port and whatnot. So let's say we drop the guy down. Oh, I don't know. Let's just put him right on the border, right at the starting point, the jumping off point. So the locks and the St. Lawrence River and everything are all along here. And this would have been the docks and the piers and the old port and all of that. Ms. Grandma, I didn't realize Montreal was an island. Yeah, well, it's an island within the St. Lawrence River, but it's that really fat, wide part of the river there, you see. Yes, Daphne Blakey asking, do y'all have star forts up there too? Yes, we have quite a few star forts, and in fact, Montreal has or had a star fort. There's a few dozen, actually. Some way up in sort of north central Manitoba, which is getting into polar bear country. So let's just take a walk down here, shall we? Now, some of these I think have been either brutalized or they're new, made to emulate the old, because I'm sure if you're building a new building in old Montreal, there would be architectural restrictions. So even if you're building a brand new building like this, it's got to look old world-ish, because they don't want it to look too fugly next to something beautiful like this right here. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of historic districts have that, Calgary included. This still has a lot of the tech left on it, and you'll see that's the case with a lot of these, ether fencing and all kinds of what look like, I don't know, antennas, for lack of a better term. Now you're going to see not a lot of red brick on the outside of quite a few of these buildings. You're going to see either smoothly hewn or rough hewn stone, or even like stone like this. A lot more than you're going to see red brick. Not to let the, the cat out of the bag or anything. But it is what it is. Now, they're saying that they based, if you remember, the Wikipedia shenanigans, they based the grid in this original part of Montreal, the old Montreal. They did the street grid based on trails, natural trails, like maybe game trails, Indigenous First Nations, Native Indian trails. I don't know what. But then they also say that, Montreal is a European city within Canada. And as a result, it's highly influenced by other European cities, most especially Paris, but also London to some extent. And probably Edinburgh and Glasgow as well. Another really European city in Canada is, of course, Quebec City. It's rather interesting. Yeah, you can see this is just a facade stone. Oh, there's some red brick. So you've got some red brick here, and then some schmutz has been smeared over it. And they've facaded the outside of it with stone tiles, but they're pretty thick. Say 8 inches, 8 inches thick. You can see here, the side of the building, they didn't bother finishing. So is this a Victorian tart-up? Originally was the entire building, when old Montreal was founded by the dirty, dirty Frenchman fur traders, was this building like this, and then they came along and they kind of fixed it up and claimed it. I don't know. I'm just asking questions. I'm not claiming to be a historian. You can see a lot of the buildings are facaded beautifully, but you're seeing a lot of this older stone work. A lot of this shenanigans here too. This one's so small, and then this one gets a little wider, and then as we progress down the street, they get bigger and bigger. It's ridiculous. You wouldn't build like that. Because if something happens and these 3 windows break, and you got to get a guy to install new glass in them, you can't just, this isn't just an off-the-shelf window size. You see what I'm saying? You're making it more difficult for yourself by doing that. Oh man, I done messed up. Sorry about that, y'all. I messed up, but you know, you get my drift. All right. I mean, there's so much to see here that it's. I mean, I could go. I mean, this could end up being a marathon, an 8-hour marathon live stream here. See, this one, they've built it all up to get into the main door, but then you still have to go up a couple of stairs. And again, it's looking very squat or stout to a fella. You know what I'm saying? Like, why is the entrance for this building way up here? But, you know, the entrance for this building is over here. A couple steps, but not as many. So now we get into some of these narrower streets once we get off of that main drag there. Oh, here's a big brick building. Oh, yeah, let's blur that. Great, that's convenient. Why are you doing that? Ooh. Okay, this is the historical center. Wow. A lot of discoloration here. I mean, I'm ignoring the sign and then another sign over the sign. Classy. So they're going to try to fool you that, well, this was the original sign when they built this building, and we didn't want to damage it or remove it, so we're just going to put our sign over it so that it maintains its original integrity. BS. This looks like crap compared to all of this and this. So I think this was added after the fact too, and then now they've put a sign on top of a sign. First time for everything. I've never seen that before. That's ridiculous. This thing's a beauty. I mean, you don't even really know which way to look because you can look everywhere in old Montreal. There's another bricker. Oh, look, there's the windows that go down and you can see into the lower level. Stone in there too. Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. You know what I mean? I mean, what do you suppose all of that is? Oh, sure, lion head. Yeah, you could have your lions. They'll, why African lions in Canada? Well, they'll tell you, well, Canada was part of the British Commonwealth, so the lion represents the crown, you see. And then when you point out other countries that aren't part of the Commonwealth that have lions, well, that represents royalty. You know, not just the British crown, but royalty in general. Yeah, okay. See these really narrow streets? Very European. These buildings are getting a little rough looking, though. Like this one could use a little bit of TLC. But, you know. Whoops. Get out of there. I'm also keeping my eyes open for pavement lights, you know, prism lights in the sidewalk. So that was probably a window at one time. And they've closed some of it in and put a vent in there. And it just goes on and on in every direction. See, here was a window, I'm guessing. They put a vent in it, and then we'll put a bench in front of it to help hide it even more. Streets are in rough shape, though. Like, really, really bad. I mean, it's Montreal. The streets are always crappy. One of the many things Montreal is famous for is really crappy city streets. Let's just hang half a canoe above our place. That's pretty clever, I guess. How do you know you're in Canada? When the awning above my window on my business is a canoe. That's how you know you're in Canada. Oh yeah, maple flavored everything. Oh, that's what they were blurring out. Why were they blurring out the tower? Well, now we can see it. Ha! That's pretty impressive. A lot of bother for not such a big building either, you know? It's not like one of those huge hotels or anything. I don't even know where I'm going. Just wandering around. Just taking a mudflood tour of old Montreal. Just going on walkabout. Starting to see maybe some Art Deco here in this one. But we'll put some of these on it so it kind of works with some of the older buildings. Oh, now we're getting into some brick roads. Okay, good, good. That's one of the other things old Montreal's famous for. I mean, the roads in general are shit, but, you know, they're famous for their brick roads. It's a little bit of the remnants of the old streetcar trolley, the tram. The rails are still there. Oh no, that's stone sidewalk or crosswalk. Ah, that's a stone crosswalk. Well, that's an extra pain in the ass. I thought it was they just left the rails in from the streetcar. But no, it goes from the corner of this sidewalk. It's a crosswalk. I've never seen that before. Huh. So now I'm wondering, is that stone or is that just brick covered in crud? I don't know, but they've blocked in a window or door here. And probably something here. No, that's stones. Okay. Well, the foundation is stones, and then I've seen some huge blocks there. And then could this possibly be brick covered in schmutz? Yes, it is. Look. And then they just facade it over the front. Shenanigans. Shenanigans. Oh, there's a window way down there. Wow, this place is fancy schmancy too, man. Wow, Yeah, there's definitely some hankiness going on. That's for sure. Yeah, these windows go below ground, so that's not inconvenient at all in the winter in Canada. That's not going to get filled with ice and snow and just no, that's fine. That's how you build it. Like right brand new right out of the gates. That's how you do it. Some of them are a work in progress, I guess. Yeah, this one's in good shape. It's brick road. Hey, look, get out of the way there, Rufus. You're gonna get run over by the Google car. It's a pretty handsome dog, I'm not gonna lie. That is a handsome dog. Good boy. See, again, this window is bigger than this window because they had to make it fit on the sloping, mud-flooded street. Rather than leveling it out, they just put a layer of brick over it and said, there you go, Bob's your uncle. Done. Stock Exchange building. That's, yeah, we looked at that, the black and white photo. That's very impressive. Well, this one's being renovated again. Pretty old under there, though, by the looks of it. So a lot of Victorian tart-ups. Let's head in a different direction here. Let's see. There we go. Oh, Luigi's been here, stacking a brick. Rosettes all over it. Man, oh man. So I'm surprising myself because there's actually more brick, or at least facaded in brick buildings than I remembered. I have all these pillars and columns way up here. There's difficult angles to build. Like it's just extra expense and time. I mean, I know, change the broken record already, but you see what I'm driving at, man. Narrow brick streets. This isn't an alleyway or a back lane. This is a street. This is the way that they laid out the original grid. And it's the same building, really. They put two different types of architectural detail on it. So did they shorten these windows? Were these windows originally like this? There might even be a dividing wall in between these buildings, but I bet you that this was originally just one building. Looks weird, though. You know what I'm saying? And then they have some passageways, but like really tight passageways between some of these older buildings too. I'm just trying to find them. You know, like how London has, you know, an old Londinium. I think we went up that way. I don't know if we went down this way. I think we went this way. I don't know. Just flying by the seat of my pants here, people. Wow, this is beautiful. Absolutely stunning. She's getting a facelift, hopefully, not an alteration. think we looked at that one already. All right, here, let's see. Get out of there. I think I need to get back down closer to the water. Yeah, that's right. Miss Grandma says if only that building could tell us. All right, so we're down closer to the water here. Let's go back up this way a little bit. Let's go up by Bon Secours. We got a couple of references to Bon Secours in the Wikipedia, so should at least go and have a look at it. You can't miss it because it's that big, beautiful, shiny dome coming up. See it off here in the distance. Still looking for some of those passageways too. What are they blurring out? Like, they're always not blurring anything out. I mean, it's a cool mansard roof, but this building's on a weird angle. It comes out to a point, and then it's two different buildings together, but I guess it's to follow the curvature of the street. I don't know. No, it's this sort of idea, but you can pass right through it. You know what I'm getting at. I'm telling you, you can't swing a dead cat without hitting an old world building in this part of town. Whoa, look at this shenanigans here. Hello. Peekaboo, I see you. You think you can hide from me? No, no, monsieur. And here it is. Starts right here. It takes up the whole city block. This supposedly was built to be a public market. So if you were a farmer or, I don't know, you're a sheep rancher and you were going to bring your wool or whatever to the market, this is where you brought it. Because you got to have a super fancy, almost state capitol looking building to bring your tomatoes to sell at the market, I guess.
I don't believe you.
And it's huge. I mean, it's like I said, it's the entire city block. You get stuff like this. It's all this copper. And the whole top quarter of the building is copper. You can see here the street slopes, and then Bon Secours, like I guess the second floor is the first floor, and the other side? Yeah, sure, because that's how you do this too. That's fine. No problem. No problem with this at all. That's how you do that. It's some quality craftsmanship there. Yeah, so you're a fishmonger, you're I don't know, you got corn, you got a corn farm, maybe you're a dairy farmer. This is where you bring your wares. I don't know. Marché Bon Secours. Bon Secours Market. Yeah, it's a beast, right? Yeah, that's right. You could sell your taters there, Scott. You could just load them in your horse and wagon and yeah, come on now, Jim and Jake, yeah, and clippity clop your way onto St. Paul Street, and there you go. Now I've been inside this building. It's like a huge museum, interpretive center, conference hall, all kinds of stuff. But it's just massive on the inside. Big, huge vaulted ceilings, big, wide open, expansive, basically rooms that they can divide up, right? It's incredible. It's a beautiful place. This is just goofy. I mean, you could see that they're having a tough time just maintaining this, because when this was founded or found and they started cleaning it up, there was no way with the few, I don't know, I'm going to throw a number out there just for shits and giggles, but a few dozen or a couple of hundred finders come across this, and they just do not have the resources to dig the whole thing out. So they just do the best they can. And then, of course, later on, layer upon layer is added, bricks added, and then this fancy, sidewalk is added. And just over time, things get buried and underneath layers of, it's just built one thing on top of another on top of another. I mean, we know that there's a huge, expansive network of subways underneath Montreal called the Metro. But I also did a show about the catacombs underneath this, which is the Bon Secours Chapel. There's catacombs under this. Whoops. There we go. So there's no way that this street was raised, because let's say they were having issues with flooding from the St. Lawrence River, which is just 2 blocks down this way, right? 2 city blocks down. It's not like, oh, the St. Lawrence keeps flooding here, so we're going to raise the streets and make these viaducts. Like some cities, they had problems with flooding, so they supposedly raised the streets. That's the story of how you get, the Seattle Underground or the, I don't know, the whatever, right? The I don't know, San Antonio Underground or whatever it is. But I think this is just all, a lot of these are pre-reset, these are pre-catastrophe. Something catastrophic happened, and one of the effects of that was some kind of mud flood, as a result of, I don't know, maybe some meteor impact, something falling from the sky and smashing into the ground. Something that caused incredible upheaval and heat. And then later on, things like, earthquakes and fires and this sort of moving of the earth that we just as a broad term, mudflood is a pretty good description of it. So they can't dig all of this out. So it's like, well, we do the best we can. We cover it up with what we can, like cover it up with bricks. But where did they get all the freaking bricks from? I don't know. Some of the buildings that didn't survive the mud flood, didn't survive the heat, didn't survive whatever the cataclysm was. A building like this that, let's say, the top was knocked off, or we see these sort of jagged diagonal collapses in the old photos of, like the San Francisco earthquake and fire or whatever. So maybe they demolished some of those already partially destroyed buildings and then used those bricks to fix up other buildings, line streets, whatever the case may be. Because even this door looks short to me. This looks like this building should go down lower. You know what I'm saying? Again, I don't know. I don't claim to know. I'm just speculating on this. I have no idea. I mean, the earth doesn't have to be moving at any great rate of speed and have a lot of force to it. Not enough to knock down a building or to make a building tilt. Just enough to kind of wave, like slow ocean waves, not big crashing tidal waves, but just the natural undulations of the ocean. Kind of that same thing, but with the land as it moves along. And as it moves to higher ground, the earth that's in the mud, that's doing the mud flooding, is not going to be as deep. But in low-lying areas where it flows over, it's going to fill up those low-lying areas and be a bit deeper. And it's going to flow from, uphill, downhill. So it's going to flow from, I'm guessing, Mount Royal down towards the St. Lawrence. It's going to flow from up here, and it's going to flow all the way downhill towards the river. It's not the river flooding upwards. At least, it's not what I think, anyway. But I don't know. I'm just a guy living here in the prairies in Calgary. I haven't lived in Montreal for 44 years. I've been back a few times. And I always make a point of visiting old Montreal, even when I was not as awake to some of these shenanigans as I am now. And I'm still discovering things, of course. None of us ever really should stop learning, but even back then when I was not where I am now, I just enjoyed this part of the city because it's just so beautiful. I mean, there's another Canadian castle for you. Brick and stone, and just all of these, the tech on top of these pointed dormers. Really? And conical domes. Okay. Sure, why not? Got all the time in the world, I guess, and all the resources and all the skilled labor force. Again, even if you told me this took 10 years in the 1870s, I would still laugh in your face. Even though there was hundreds of thousands of people living in the area by the 1870s. because then you have to account for, well, a lot of these buildings have similar build dates that we're told that they're built within the same time period, a 2 to 10 year time frame. A lot of these buildings overlap. These are the dates that we're given. So it's like, well, there's only so many construction workers, tradesmen, skilled trades, unskilled trades, architects, stonemasons, glass glaziers, carpenters, plasterers to go around. And this place is incredible, man. Incredible. Oh, what's this over here now? What is this? I have no idea. Wow. Venetian shells. A lot of the sawtooth or dogtooth. I got a couple of. What's this? Guy's wearing some kind of weird hat. I wonder if I can get at it from a different point of view or something here. Sorry, I'm mumbling. I'm trying to figure out who is this, Mercury? Silver Age Flash. Yep, it's Mercury. Or the guy, he's got a little thing. I'm not up on my Roman and Greek mythology. But then here's a lady. There's some lady, and then Silver Age Flash here. From the DC Comics, the fast guy, the fastest man alive, the Flash. But the Silver Age Flash, where he wore the little WW1 helmet had the little wings on it. But see, all of these buildings, the main floor, the second floor on the one side is the main floor on the other side. See what I mean? Anyway, just over 2 hours here. You get the idea. I mean, again, I could go on and on. Even these houses are beautiful. Look at this. They're just getting silly with it. This is Canada, everybody. This is Canada. I know. It doesn't look like it. Looks like Europe or something. Nope. It's Canada. Don't worry about them building all this through the winter when it's freezing cold and there's 2 feet of snow. No, it's fine. It's fine. It's not a problem. Not a problem at all. I guess one advantage for the narrative is that it's Montreal's a port city. So what they could make, they could have shipped in from France or later from jolly old England, I guess. So, there's an excuse for everything, I reckon. Just going to take one last quick little stroll up here, see what's going on. Yeah, I mean, you could just keep going and going. Or throw some ugly modern art sculpture in there, sure. Bet you more people take photos of that ugly statue than anybody would take photos of this place. Where I'd be all about this. And I wouldn't care one bit about that ugly statue down the street. All right. Well, that's good. Like I said, I could just keep going on and on. Mercury. Yeah. eagle eggs. Yeah, they were a lie, Steven. That's right, from Nacho Libre. It's a hilarious movie. Absolutely hilarious. Hermes. Ah, he's also Hermes. Okay. Or as they say in the fashion industry, Hermes. So there you go. I think I'm getting ready to wind this thing down here for this evening. We're coming up on 7:30 local time, mountain time. So what's going on coming up here for the channel? Wednesday. You're getting a twofer of a fella on Wednesday. You're getting your vintage footage video, which you just got a peek of here tonight on the live show. But speaking of live shows, Wednesday the 23rd, the Knuckleheads, episode 13. We're going to be looking at Regina, Saskatchewan. So yours truly, Frankie, New West Reset, and my good friend Chris from Old World Exploration. Looking at Regina, Saskatchewan, up here in Canada land, eh, buddy? Got some excellent footage from a recent road trip that Cousin Vinny and I took to High River. That is in the queue coming up in a couple of weeks. Believe it or not, I took a lot of footage this year. Well, I mean, you get one video a week of boots on the ground anyways. It's pretty much how it's always been here on the channel since word go. But I don't know, I was really successful in finding places and heading out on road trips this summer. So there's actually quite a few videos that are already in the queue, just waiting to go public for everybody. So that High River, I'm going to try to do that as a, it's a mudflood walkabout. Cousin Vinny and myself. It's about an hour long. I want to try to do that as a premiere, like I did with the one where we went to Nanton, because I really enjoyed that format. We can watch the video together and we can chat in the box and goof around with one another, and just have a little bit of fun,
You know what I mean? All right, we're having a good time.
So look for that in the next couple of weeks as well. Also, I've got another project coming up that I'm still working on, but that will be coming up probably in the next month or two. So, do all the things that you got to do so that you get the notifications and whatnot. Again, links below for everything. New West Reset location map, courtesy of Cousin Vinny. He keeps that quite up to date. Also, BitChute, MeWe, Bumbles, YouTube, and a guy's email. PayPal, if you're so inclined, much appreciated. Everything goes to the channel. So I think that is going to seal the deal here tonight for Frankie, New West Reset Live, episode 88, The Astounding Architecture of Old Montreal. So thank you very much once again for joining me. I really appreciate all of your support. Thanks to everybody in the box, in the chat. Thanks for keeping an eye on things. Hippie and Cousin Vinny, really appreciate that. So there you go. Until the next one, take care out there, everybody, and have yourselves a good one. All right? Thanks a lot, everyone. Cheers.
It's a mystery. It's a mystery wrapped in a riddle inside an enigma.